All right, welcome back. I have a knife here today. Let's pull out the trusted old Demco to do the job. This is the Demco 8020.5, just your standard AUS 10A and Grivery scale. Pick them up at your usual suspects like DLT Trading, White Mountain Knives, and others. So, assuming this is what I think it is, confirmed it is, this particular knife, I'll get it out here, I actually got this from another buyer, not another buyer, but a private sale from someone that didn't use it. But what I'd actually noted was that these were now available for sale on AliExpress, and I was about to have one sent over, and then I was like, you know what, I can probably find one faster if I just buy it pre-owned. And I also realized you can buy them on Blade HQ after, so my bad on that. I'll link to Blade HQ and AliExpress. You can take your pick. You want to pay around 150, 155 bucks shipped from AliExpress and get it whenever you get it. Or do you want to work with the wonderful folks at Blade HQ? I think they have them for like 180 or 190 bucks, and then you'll get it much faster. But I've been very curious about these knives. What kind of got me going on them, this is interesting. It comes with a lot of hardware here, which is this backup hardware maybe? Not 100% sure what I'm looking at there. It's one of the things about buying pre-owned. You never quite know what you're going to get. Nice little cleaner here. Oh man, the finish on that's really nice. I've been curious about this. Secure by Design kind of got me into this recently. I was very pleasantly surprised by my mini Tempest I bought, and I was like, you know, I'm gonna look into some more of these makers that make these knives. And it's really cold out, so this thing's gonna take a little time to clean up just from the condensation on here. But make these knives and these really nice designs out of particular factories in China that do a great job, like Riyadh. What's another one? Well, you get the point. And this one caught my eye. And I mean, you can see right there, it's, I mean, granted, this isn't a brand new one, but it, you know, doesn't appear to have been actually carried or anything like that. And it's pretty drop shutty. I really like the size, by the way. This reminds me a lot of the total size of the Demco. So that's pretty cool. Very similar cutting edge length, but I like the flatness on the Demco a bit more. Rounded belly to me is a little tougher to keep under control. But wow, what a fit and finish on this Maxace. I just heard of this one a couple times through the circles, and I wanted to see what it was about. Looks like a really nice centering there. Looks dead center, dead center. You got a nice back spacer. The action, it was just phenomenal. Again, I don't know how much this thing's been tinkered with, but man, it's like one of the things that it reminds me of is a little bit of the Wii Vision R. And granted, I don't like the locking mechanism as much, but the action on deployment is a level up. Oops, as I mess it up. The feedback, the detent. If I had a criticism of the Wii, it's the deployment for out. Now, granted, you can deploy that knife using the super lock, and it's amazing. And it rolls out the thumb a lot better than this does. This is one of the things about frame lock knives is you're never quite comfortable getting it out with your thumb consistently. So, I mean, if I had an immediate criticism of this, it's, you know, just another tie frame lock. but it is really pretty, and it is an amazing reverse flick or Spidey flick, as you can see there. Let's see if I can, it's like a little small, and there's not a great place to put your hand on here to do a thumb flick. Now, I'm sure a better knife handler than myself can do this fine, but this is definitely a quick criticism here. This thing does not give you a lot of confidence for a thumb deployment. Can't roll it out well. And again, I'm probably holding it wrong or something, but it's just one of the problems with this format, in my opinion. I've heard others say that as well, but it really bothers me in general having a frame lock, and I avoid it where I can. But man, look at the finish on this. Like, there's some reasons that I went for this as a try. This carbon fiber is really nice, and it is like nicely set in there. I think this is called the raindrop. I think they have a few different finishes. This one's the raindrop. Man, that is a really nice reverse flick though. That's about as good as I've seen. I don't really call it the black mirror. It's an interesting name for a knife that doesn't have a black finish on the blade. What else? This is a M390 blade steel. Got the Bowler name right on there. So that's pretty impressive also. Now, I don't know if this has been, you know, used or whatever, so hard to, gotta really take this with a grain of salt, but let's take a look at the edge real quick here. Yeah, very slicey. It's just a really nice thin blade there. Really like the blade on it. You know, I kind of wish it came down a little more and went flatter across, but it's cool in its own right, and it has this kind of interesting shape, right, where it flows really nicely. The top here is quite elegant in how it does that. The pocket clip looks okay. It looks like maybe carved out of a single piece of titanium there or something, if I'm seeing it right. Let's just double check. I'm assuming they're not going to go make this knife like this and then not go titanium there. Yeah. Titanium on the pocket clip, which is nice. Yeah, and it's just a nice size and fit and finish. I mean, it is, let's see how it feels in the hand. The pocket clip's a little, it's very flat and tall, right? So there's not like it's probably not the best feeling hand of any knife I've handled, but it's not bad. It has a little choke up point. I'd say the draw cut feels pretty good there. But the choke up is not the best that I've seen. It's just a little small. It's kind of like, it's weird. It's kind of weird. Normally you'd see this be a little more shallow. It's a very deep choke up point, and it'll work. And it feels pretty safe because you have quite a bit of non-sharpened space there. You can see, like, I have a little gap between my finger and the sharpened spot. One of the things I really dislike is a choil where it feels like my finger, if it slips, is just going to go right onto the blade. This feels pretty good, but it's just not quite right. You know, because the blade doesn't have thumb studs or a flipper tab, you get this pretty nice flat area here to choose from in terms of where you want your hand to go. And you can just kind of naturally choke up on it. You can see just how much space I get. So the knife feels very efficient in its use of space and very neutral in hand, I guess would probably be the best way to describe it. So I'm fairly impressed with that. It's a nice, like, what is it, stone-washed finish on there, I think. On the blade, and like a nice bead blasted finish on the tie handle. Like, it is, I mean, if something like this were made in the US, you get these for, again, 150 to 190 bucks. Something like this made in the US would be, you know, $300 to $600, maybe more. You could see someone coming out with something like this and, you know, charging $600-700, I guess. You know, M390 and tie and inlaid carbon fiber like that. That's pretty sweet. I just want to throw this in the pocket real quick and see how that goes over the pocket material. Yeah, it's kind of how I thought. It's not bad. Like, you can kind of one-hand it if you get the right angle. We almost have to like push at a weird angle to get it over the pocket material, and then it goes in okay. It's not bad. Not the best pocket clip I ever ran into. I like the back spacer a lot. That's pretty sweet. Nice, assuming again, tie on that. I think I'm picking up a little something, but it's probably some, oh, it's probably the blade sitting in there actually. I think there may just be some, some hardware in there or something. But I don't think the backspacer itself. In fact, I'm probably just hitting the, hard to say, but I'm pretty sure it's 100% tie. It's definitely acting like titanium and feels good. So yeah, it's a good knife. For some reason, just kind of a lesson for me here, how hasty I was. If I had known it was a frame lock, I'll be honest with you, I might not have even gotten it. I'm just so anti-frame lock at this point. Like, despite all the goodness about this knife, it just might not be something I would even get because of the frame lock. It's not my favorite right now. I think there's such better locking mechanisms. I really wish if they had done something like this with an inset frame lock in like or even just a liner lock of some sort, man, that would have really taken this knife to the next level for me personally. It's not bad, but again, the drawback of you go to deploy, like, it basically limits your deployment, your consistent deployment. I'm sure you can deploy it fine this way, better than me, but I'm just not comfortable. I don't know what's going to happen, and I don't like that. I don't like the lack of predictability there. So, Spidey Flick, though, is about as good as they come. And it makes you just want to do it over and over and over again. Let's see if it's got good lockup. Oh yeah, real nice. So yeah, I think it just further confirms some of what's happening out there in the market, and just in terms of what's possible from these companies in China. You know, to get an M390, is that I think it's a flat grind. I think it's a flat grind, but a really nice, it's actually one of the things to note, and I kind of noticed it, but didn't say anything about it. The flat grind starts at the top. It works its way all the way down. It's just a really impressive blade. It's one of the better blades I've seen. It's a really nice hybrid. It kind of gives you the benefit of the shark foot, where you can really kind of get into a label or open a box or whatever, but then it still has a point on there if you needed to use it for like a self-defense type knife. It's not really why I buy my knives, but yeah, it's a nice blade shape. It's a really nice, I like the fuller for the finger choil. Like, it's a really good size where you're not like trying to find it, but it's not so big that your finger gets caught in it. So I really like the finger choil there. I'm trying to see if this thing's gonna, what point does it want to drop shut? It's pretty controlled. assuming it runs on bearings, but I haven't, it's a little dark in here, so I can't see. Yeah, it runs on bearings. Can you see it there? I don't know, I even questioned based on the action, but you never know these days. There's some knives like QSP and stuff that do phenomenal things on washers. I'm tempted to take it apart. It looks like a very simple knife to take apart. You know what it reminds me of a little bit is the Rockstand, where you just have 1, 2, and you're in it. Pretty impressive. The finish on it is just amazing. I mean, there's not a, you know, screw head on this entire side of the knife. This side looks great. You know, the swoop has its benefits, but it also has its drawbacks for me. Like the feel of it's good, but it's not the most comfortable I've ever felt in hand. Curious what kind of lockup we're getting there. Just about perfect. Yeah, you know, just not much more to say about it. If you're just looking for a nice tie frame lock with inset carbon fiber, you don't want to spend $400 to $1,000, because you could easily see something like this costing like $1,000, honestly. M390 blade steel, the works, and you don't have you don't take issue with buying from China. It's pretty hard to beat what you got right there, and it's got a little bit of that futuristic vibe. It reminds me a little bit of the Microtech Annex. Maybe I'll pull that guy out. Always a good day when I get to pull out the Microtech Annex. Speaking of knives that deliver quite a bit of value and made in China, you know, integral, so definitely on a different level in terms of that finish and everything, but very similar in style. Like it almost looks like it comes out of the same factory or something like that, doesn't it? You know, immediately as soon as I got that in hand, I was like, that reminds me a lot of this. I think this one has a lot of things that it does better. It's a beast of a blade. Oops. I just cut my fingernails, and now you know what I'm doing? I'm just getting myself over here, and I'm frame locking myself. I was like just talking about frame locks, and that's why. Yeah, let's get this guy out one time and loosen him up. It's a little cold in my hand. Having a lot of issue getting this guy out today for some reason, which is weird. Normally this is like one of my favorite knives to deploy and use. The Annex is really a beauty. But yeah, it reminds me a lot like I'd be, someone's on here probably going, yeah, dude, those are made in the same factories. But I don't honestly know where both these knives are made. There we go. I feel like this one is sort of, it's like a semi front flipper. Yeah, it can be done. It just takes a lot of pressure because it's such a big blade. There we go. So yeah, that looks very similar. I mean, the bead blasting, the color and everything, they're like shockingly similar. This is almost like its little brother. That's wild. I mean, they're definitely different. You can see the blues and everything, they're different, but man, there's a lot of similarities there. And that's where I'm going. Like, this was what I think these go for, like $450. And granted, it's Microtech, so you're talking about a different level of brand, and this is an integral. It's an amazing, you know, one single piece of titanium cut out. It's quite impressive. But for 150 to 190 bucks, this does a lot of what that does. And It's arguably a much better EDC. I can tell you this pocket clip's a lot better. This is like the worst pocket clip I've ever come across. Let me see if I can even get that in my pocket. Yeah, but I think I may have just torn the thread in my pants. This thing is like, got so much pressure on it. No, it didn't tear anything. It's a nice little ball on there, but man, this thing pushes down so hard. If I were to ever consider EDCing this, I'd probably try and loosen that up or something, man. That thing is just beast. That's a cool knife too, though. But yeah, I think like you look at these, pull out the Sharp by Design, which is again what kind of got me down this path. And I got a Evo, what do I have? An Evo Mini Typhoon coming in also. So this is the Sharp by Design Mini Tempest, which if you watch my video, I was just like, wow, this is really nice. But again, bead blasted inset carbon fiber. Like, there's a lot of this beautiful knife making coming out of China right now, and it's just hard to deny. You know, if you're a knife enthusiast, you know, take the capitalistic part out of it and the nationalistic part of it. Just hard to deny that there's some really cool stuff coming out of China right now. I'm excited to get that Evo Mini Typhoon in, because as much as I love this front flipper, and it sort of taught me to front flip. If you watch that video, I went into it not knowing how to front flip. And now I've got this thing really screaming out of there, which feels great. And it is really cool. It's an amazing knife in like every way. I really love this knife. The Mini Typhoon has my eye because it has a flipper tab and I think like more of a fuller. This fuller is a little, I remember I went into that video and I cut my fingernails right before it, and then I like couldn't deploy it after I cut my fingernails. It's just hard to get in there and get a purchase. But when you do, it really flies out of there and it's nice. I wish they had just made that a touch taller and that fuller a little more accessible. Oh my God, this knife with a really good fuller on it. And I think maybe if you get a different blade shape, it might even be better. I don't know. This Bowie is a beautiful, beautiful knife, but have to think that blade shape does make it a little tough to deploy there. So I wonder if I think they have like a regular kind of drop point. I wonder if that one is a little taller on the fuller. Man, this one's just really hard to get my finger in there. It just does not want to do it consistently. But man, when it does, it really flies out of there. So I'm hoping maybe that Evo Mini Typhoon is also really nice. But Sharp by Design and Brian Ado, I mean, that thing's on another level for sure versus, you know, this one. But again, like you're talking about a knife that costs a lot more. It's a $390 knife versus a $150 to $190. This is really good, folks. Blade stock thickness is a lot thinner on the Maxace. It's really an optimized knife. I'm really curious what's the weight on this thing. This thing is definitely designed to be carried. Yeah, 3.56 ounces. It's just like right in there with my Grivery. You know, I got a Grivery handle here. Here you got titanium and inset carbon fiber, an M390. These two knives are the same price. If it wasn't for the Shark Lock and what I like as a slightly better EDC blade, I mean, that's pretty crazy, right? Made in Taiwan, made in China. Same weight. This could just make a really nice gentleman's knife too. Something to have in the pocket when you go out to a nice dinner or whatever. This could definitely play that role. Like, in fact, right now in my pocket, I'm actually doing this, Merry Christmas. I'm doing this video Christmas Eve. Actually, by the time I'm recording it, I'm passing over into Christmas Day here in Pacific Standard Time. And I did carry my Tactile Knife Company Rockwall for the holidays, and you can see the size is very similar. Get those tip to tip, it's a little longer. It's definitely a little bit of a bigger knife and taller and everything, but I bet thickness wise they're pretty similar too. And it's a pretty thick knife actually. It's a pretty thick one. Definitely bigger than the Tactile, but man, it's a sweet little knife. You will not be disappointed. If you're looking for this and what it is, I don't think you'll be disappointed at all. This is nicer than I expected it to be. It's really nice in hand. So there you go. Please like, subscribe, comment. If I missed something, I definitely forgot I didn't look up the factories. I would have liked to have looked up some of the factories on where this might have been built. Feel free to throw that in the comments. And yeah, just correct anything I might have gotten wrong there. So we will see you on the next one. Take care.